Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of Techno Electric and Engineering Company Limited, hosted by Asian Market Securities Limited. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. Actual results may differ from such expectations, projections, etc., whether expressed or implied. Participants are requested to exercise caution while referring to such statements and remarks. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Kamlesh Kotak from Asian Market Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Rutuja. Good day, everyone. On behalf of Asian Markets, we welcome you all to the 2Q FY22 earnings conference call of Techno Electric and Engineering Company Limited. We have with us today Mr. P.P. Gupta, Chairman and Managing Director, and Mr. Ankit Sarvaiya, Director representing the company. I would request Mr. Gupta ji to take us through an overview of the quarterly and half-yearly results, and then we shall begin the Q&A session. Over to you, sir. Gupta ji, thank you.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all of you, and wish you a very happy Diwali, Chhath Puja, and all festivals, Dussehra, Ganpati, Chaturthi, and welcome you to discuss our financial results for the quarter ending September 2021 and half year ending of year 2021 too. Anything said on this call which reflects our outlook for the future or that could be construed as a forward-looking statement must be reviewed in conjunction with the risks that the company or the very industry segment in which we operate faces. Now, let me quickly summarize our performance. The total revenue in Q2 stands at 273.5 crores, which is almost around 45% higher on quarter-on-quarter, and 6.5% over year-on-year. The revenue from EPC is at 225 crores, similarly, which is around 40% higher on quarter-on-quarter, and 1% over previous year. The wind business, the revenue is at 48 crores compared to 33.75 crore last year, which is up by 42%. The wind season has been good this year compared to last year. EBITDA for the company stood at 85 crores in this quarter compared to 75 crore in the same period last year, and up by 54.7% on quarter-on-quarter and 13.4% year-on-year. The operating profit for the EPC segment similarly is at 41.35 crore, which is very similar to the last year. The other income for this quarter is at 10.28 crore compared to 50 crore last year, which includes last year income included one-time profit from the sale of our Haryana transmission asset, comprising of 28 crore of capital gain and a dividend income of 16 crore approximately. Profit before tax for the quarter was at 84.35 crore compared to 70 crore last year if we adjust for the one-time profit, and up by 20% and rupees 60.29 crore quarter-on-quarter, up by 40%. PAT for the quarter was at 63.48 crore compared to 52 crore last year after adjusting one-time profit. That implies it is up by 40% as quarter-on-quarter and 20% as year-on-year. The EPS for the quarter is at 5.7. Yeah. Similarly, now taking up our half-year results, the revenue for the first half year is at 463 crore, which is up by 8.5% year-on-year. The revenue from EPC sale is 388 crore compared to 375 crore last year, which is around 3.5% up. Revenue from the wind segment is at 75 crore compared to 52 crore last year. EBITDA for the company is at 140.62 crore, up by 17.5% year-on-year. Operating profit for the EPC segment is maintained compared to last year, which is more or less same at around 75 crore. The operating profit margin for the EPC segment for this half year is at 18.9% compared to around 20% last year. The operating profit for the wind segment is at 67 crore and which is roughly around 89.55% compared to 84.5% last year. The other income is at 27 crore compared to 64 crore last year, whereas the other income includes the one-time income. If that is taken off, then it is very comparable. The profit before tax for the half year was at 145 crore compared to 116 crore last year, up by 24%. Profit after tax stood at 109 crore compared to 57 crore last year if we take out one-time profit. The EPS is at around 10. The current investment values, including cash in hand for the quarter ending September 2021, is at 850 crores. We have received new orders. The traction has started in the market, which is roughly around 500 crore in this quarter and around 575 crore in the first half. The unexecuted order is around 2,000 crores. The outlook is much better than what we have achieved. It seems COVID is behind us and now we can look forward to life as normal as possible. We expect a large business out of FGD segment. We are at one in more or less around bids worth 20 billion. The FGD segment will continue to be in focus for next 5 years. As per notification of Government of India, all coal-fired thermal plants need to limit sulfur emission as notified by the Pollution Department by December 24. There is a considerable progress with CPSUs in placing the order, and for implementation of the same will be happening now by SEB's private sector. We expect business of around 15 billion in this year, and this level of business will continue for next 4 years as 50 gigawatt is yet to be ordered out by the balance, the remaining CPSUs, mainly SEBs and private sector. The transmission segment, we expect a kind of a status quo on the transmission side. It will be limited largely to the evacuation of the renewable power. There is an ongoing TBCB bidding for 66 megawatt of renewable power out of the target of 175 megawatt, which is expected to be completed by December 21. Against the bid submission, dates have been extending over last year. We plan to bid for at least 5 projects totaling to about 2,500 crores in different states in partnership with some of the eligible entities. The union budget, but there is also a new QR now in place, which also entitles us based on our construction experience. The union budget allocates 3 lakh crore for power distribution to be released over 5 years, and fund will be based on the viability demonstration and financial performance by the distribution companies. We are seeing good interest from large investors, InvIT funds to participate in TBCB bids by making the company a significant partner. This will enhance our access to the capital and will help us in bidding for more projects. Big segment. On the distribution side, we see a lot of activity happening now, particularly in case of prepaid automatic smart meters, and also the power distribution networks to be strengthened along with it. The main aim of the government is to improve efficiency and contain losses so that health of DISCOMs could be improved. And we had mentioned earlier also that we are interested for a project in the state of J&K for 6 lakh meters, where we are already executing project for 2 lakh meters. Apart from this, there are reading in media, number of proposals are in the market now to do these projects where a part of the funding will be made by EPCs. The Electricity Act amendment is also in the bidding, which is going to be a big reform in the sector and is being awaited for many years. And government will definitely like to eliminate the loss subsidy and the payment of and subsidy will also be paid directly to the reserving power months, maybe like agriculture sector, etc. We are very hopeful that power sector is at a very critical juncture and something good should happen going forward. Wind segment. We are pleased to announce that we have received our major outstandings from the DISCOMs, that is up to June 20, under PFC REC funding scheme of 1.2 trillion rupees. We are also pleased to announce that APTEL, in its recent order of 9th November, have set aside the CRC order dated June 2020, and now revised CRC previous order dated March 17, wherein the trading on RECs will be resumed with a floor price of 1,000 and floor minute price of 2,400 as usual. We are hopeful that this loss of 1.5 years will be made good by the RPO compliant company in next 4 to 5 months. and whatever stock of inventory we have in hands, we should be able to liquidate by March 2020. As committed in last quarter, we will be recovering our performance of last year, and shall be executing at least 50% of the unexecuted order backlog during the year, and we definitely will see the growth in the year 22-23. In the coming years, we see strong power sector reforms based on efficiency, stability and reliability of our supply, cost of power, and improvement of overall financial health of the sector. The focus will continue on renewable power with related infrastructure as green corridors. You can declare that your company has been the first runner in green corridor constructions. The transmission infrastructure is required for 500 gigawatt over next 10 years. Our thrust on overseas market will include still of bagging further business from the market of Africa. Data centers. COVID-19 has impacted our life in multiple ways, but one positive outcome of this is the growth in the digital space. With the growth in digital data and also backed by IT policy on localization of data, it is expected that third-party data center industry will grow significantly from the current level of 500 megawatt to 2 gigawatt in next 3 years and about 5 gigawatt over next 5 years. To date, most of the data centers are located in Navi Mumbai and Mumbai, but now for last 1 year, the Chennai has become the hub after installation of undersea cable. For Airtel, Adani, and NTT are already in the process of setting up of data centers at Chennai. Techno is also in advanced stage of setting up of the data centers of 5 to 30 megawatts IT load of ultra-scalable hyper-density data center, for which the master plan is ready. As already said, the land is acquired and developed, and we are hopeful to start the construction in this month. Additionally, we will effectively consume the operational wind power of under 9 megawatt to classify the data center as carbon neutral, which aligns with the policy of major hyperscale customers because of their ESG commitments. So with capex of over rupees 800 crores, say 60-65 capex is always in electromechanical works, which is in-house project capability of Techno Electric, and will be able to leverage the expertise of executing such works, not only for Techno but also for third parties. With this, I've covered most of my part of the presentation, and I'm open for any further details sought by anything. Ankit, would you like to add something?
No, I think we'll take on the question and answers, and if there's any clarification required, we'll address it at that point.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Sandeep Tulsiyan from GM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon. और कैसे आप संदीप जी?
Absolutely fine, sir. I hope you're doing well.
Absolutely, you are welcome.
So first question is on this order inflow numbers that you shared of 500 crore in the current quarter. If you can share some more details, which were the larger orders that you have received in this. And I also heard in the opening comments that your order inflow expectation for the current year is around 2,000 crores. Just would want to reconfirm that number.
Absolutely. You see, during this quarter, we received a very prestigious order from Power Grid to set up a GIS substation at Mohanganj in Lucknow city for 200 crores. We got an order from KSEB to set up two 220 kV GIS stations in the state of Kerala. We got an order from Sterlite Power for Assam project, they won recently in TVCB. That is about 75 crores. And we have been further released orders by RDC, PDC, worth about 200 crores for augmenting PMDP works. So this in total, if you put it, it will be around 490 crores.
Got it. So KSEB order was what value, sorry?
Which one?
The KSEB 220 kV GIS station that you mentioned.
It is 83.6 crores to be precise.
Got it. All right. And so the annual order inflow number estimate is what, 1,500 crore or 2,000 crore? I just got confused.
2,000, sir. We are already L1 in more than 2,000 crore in FGD order tender, which is going to be the major flow of orders as I've been talking. It's taking a bit of time to finalize, both with DVC, State of West Bengal and State of Rajasthan, where we are actively involved. And we are L1 in all these tenders. I am very hopeful that by December, feeling which by January end, we should be able to have these orders in hand.
All right. So, sir, if you can share some more color on the FGD orders, where are they now in terms of pricing on a per megawatt basis? And as you mentioned, so DVC, WB and Rajasthan are the major states, so there are no orders coming in from the private sector as yet.
You see, the private, they do take offers from us, inquiry from us. We don't list them till we receive the order, but state follows the process. You are more sure of the process as such, so you are able to discuss that. But private also have taken number of offers from us, and we are serious to work with one or two of them. But I will not commit. It may happen now or it may take little. But simultaneously, there are two impacts we are facing, sir. One is a smaller capacity project. The per megawatt cost proportionately becomes higher between you and me. So there is no one set of cost. A cost per megawatt which is relevant for, say, 660 megawatt set is different from 500 megawatt set, and it will also differ vis-a-vis 250 megawatt set. So that is number one. Number two, definitely commodity cycle have also impacted the cost per megawatt. But most of these tenders do have a PV clause, which we generally don't quantify. And that PV entitlement is sufficient to utilize. But in the new tenders, obviously there is an impact of almost about 20% on account of commodity price rise like steel, copper, aluminum, and related industrial materials. If you ask my takeaway, depending on the configuration and cost practice now, earlier if we used to say that cost per megawatt is around 55 to 70 megawatt per megawatt, it has definitely gone up to now 75 to 90 lakhs per megawatt.
Okay. Got it. And one last question from my side before I get back in the queue will be on the update on that ICDs which we were expecting. Any status update on that, by when will it be released?
Okay. Yeah, there is a significant improvement. We have succeeded with McLeod, got all the money, number one. Others also, DHFL money has come in, so that is another positive. And others are also in the pipeline. We are very confident to resolve these issues before close of the year.
So what is the balance amount, sir? If you can share what has come in and what is pending?
The balance amount left in now, if you ask me, is no more than 100 crores.
Okay. All right, sir. Got it. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipesh Agarwal from UTI Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. My first question is, in October, there was a bidding by NHAI for a solar project, and therein you had participated. So what is the thought process? Are you looking to deploy your cash and own the solar assets, or you are looking at solar as an EPC opportunity?
See, firstly, we are at the moment not a participant in any of the projects, nor we have participated, number one. We are only looking for buying solar power for our data centers or creating a transmission link to evacuate solar power being set up by companies like Adani or Renew Power or similar other companies in renewable power space, I will say, that we have no interest to be a renewable power generator anymore in this market at the moment. If at all we get into down 3-5, will be meant for our own captive use, but definitely not sale to the grid or to the utilities. Our experience have been very bad in the past.
Understood. Secondly, on the wind asset, what is the outstanding receivable right now, and what is the timeline for the monetization of the same?
You see, at the moment we got our money worth about 120 crores from PFC REC under Atmanirbhar scheme of 1.2 trillion announced by Government of India through PFC. So the present outstandings are again, as of today, is about 100 crores. Additionally, about 50 crore by liquidating our REC certificate, which was on hold due to the trading ban by APTEL in July, which now stands settled in our favor, that the order of CERC making floor price 0 stands set aside, and the old floor price of 1,000 stands. It will start from this month. So 24th of November, the first trade happening now.
Okay. So by when do you expect to get this outstanding 100 crores from the customer?
$1 million question, sir. These costs are all challenged financially. I'm sure that they need to raise their tariff, or PFC REC should come forward. But with the change in government in Tamil Nadu, we also hear that they will like to clear it before March 22. It is also heard in the corridors that government is serious that generators will be paid in time.
Understood. And thirdly, what is the status on the strategic tie-up for data center?
It is all in discussion. Ankit, will you like to update?
Yeah, we are under discussion with multiple data center operators based in Singapore and US, and the discussions are ongoing. They are getting deeper, and we are hopeful that we'll have some strategic tie-up by March 22.
Okay. Okay. And lastly, if I can squeeze one more, on the smart meters, on the smart meter side, there is a lot of capex which is likely to happen. So how far we would be from seeing a large ordering happening out there?
You see, we will be very selective and choosy and will not like to commit more than 500 crore to this business segment between you and me at a given point of time. Like presently we are doing 2 lakh meter, which is purely a EPC contract. Next 6 lakh meter will have 40% component from the supplier side, which will be paid over 5 years. So our takeaway will be that we like to see a top line contribution from this segment of almost around 200 to 250 crore a year, and with a financial exposure no more than 500 crores.
Understood. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Kapoor, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
अच्छा तो फिर जिंक का पैसे कर देता हूँ चलेगा कोई
Mr. Abhishek Kapoor, please go
और
ahead.
एक और चीज इनको सुरेश को और प्रशांत को जिन्होंने यहाँ पे
As there is no response from the line of Mr. Kapoor, we'll move to the next question, which is from the line of Sandeep Tulsiyan from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for taking the follow-up question. I wanted one clarity on the wind segment revenues of 48 crore in the quarter. Are there any one-time receipts that we have gotten factored in, or this is purely the wind power generation revenues that we have booked?
So balance sheet is always based on revenue and not on collection. But definitely in this quarter we collected also about 62 crores from REC PFC. But this is purely based on revenue booking of the current year's generation.
Okay. No, based on, I mean, if we back calculate, we have typically not reported such high PLF historically in second quarter. So that's the reason I wanted to check on that.
Second quarter is the wind season is always the second quarter of the year, sir. Year on year, if you will look on it. And this year also it has been a robust year because of the cyclonic weather and lot of depressions along the east coast. So we have benefited out of that. And we trust this year we will be generating the power as good as 13, 14, around 250 million. As of today, we have already generated 210 million, sir. And it is almost about 7-8% higher than last year, you can say, in wind terms.
And second part was on the EPC segment. So since these raw material prices have gone up, how should we look at it from a margin perspective? I know we have always guided for margins in that 16-17% range, but we have been delivering higher margins of 17 to 18% in the last 2 years. So going forward with this raw material cost pressure, do we go back to that 16-17% range, or we still continue to deliver the current margins what we have been doing?
Sir, our guidance has always been 15%.
Right. Yeah.
Additionally, and because of GST, we do make because the baseline becomes lower, so percentage becomes little different, to be honest. Otherwise, you take it at 15%, by and large. And this commodity price rise is in most of our contracts is defended by PV clauses in the contracts. So they generally neutralize, they don't benefit you, but they do neutralize you as a way of life. But we have to constantly recast our L2, networks as the government has permitted now 6 months on account of COVID. So all L2 networks got recasted. And as usual, Techno is a very hands-on when it comes to operationally management at cost commitments. So we are able to hedge this, and you can safely take 15% as an overall margin for the year.
So 15% pre-benefit of GST. So post-benefit should be that same 18% what we have been doing, is it?
So I would say that you take 15% on ex-works basis. Let's keep GST out because it is not a part of the books. Earlier orders have helped us, but it may not happen in future. So overall, we should gain around 15% as a EBITDA operating margin, whatever you say.
EBIT level, okay. Got it. Okay. And lastly, sir, in terms of order inflows for the year, where we are guiding, say, this 2,000 crores, if you can broadly segregate, smart meters, FGDs, and the base T&D, how much we are building in, and have we built in anything on the data center in this or not?
No, it does not include data center order because that is our in-house, number one. 2,000, we have been only talking of utilities business, which largely comprise of 200 crore for smart meters, about 500 crore for transmission, and another 1250 crore for GD. That is the breakup we carry between us. Data center business will be add-on to it.
Okay. And this is basically we are expecting 2 out of 3 FGD, so 1200, 1250 out of 3.
Now it is 2 out of 5. We have participated in 5. Yeah, so we should get 2 out of 5, if not 3 out of 5.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question now.
Hello.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'll have a question, Kamlesh here. Gupta ji, I wanted to understand, you touched upon the bidding pipeline under the joint venture route for the projects. Can you just share some more details? How is the pipeline looking at, and what kind of bidding we are looking at in terms of the newer projects?
So this is basically a TBCB participation in a JV route, but with the recent amendment which we got on the week back, now we are qualified of our own because they have made eligible the construction experience also in these systems. If you have done 500 crore of construction in last 5 years, so you are also eligible to bid in these packages. But trust me, you know that the market is extremely competitive. It's basically like solar, it's a yield graph curve, where I doubt Percept Techno will be able to be of any significant competition unless it's a very strategically located pocket where others may not have interest, like we did Kohima Northeast package, which we are now handing over to CLP in a month's time. So those kind of packages are coming up now on the balancing side, as well as to the main renewable evacuation packages. So we have good performance track with Power Grid or Sterlite or Adani. We are preferred EPC because now they need a project to be done in 15 months as against 2 years or 3 years earlier as the industry norm is. So all put together, I will say that we will be able to, whether we may or may not win in a bid, but definitely we will get a EPC business from any developer who wins the bid. We will definitely remain a preferred supplier for him as a EPC.
But are we looking at deploying our own capital and bidding for our own project as well, sir?
Yeah, we will be taking a chance, as I told you, here and there. which we will believe will be a difficult pocket where others may not be keen. So those kind of opportunities do keep coming, one or two among the 10. If there are 10 bids, then one or two bids are always a little odd. Like with Sterlite, we got a breakthrough in Nangal Bibra in Assam, which have a crossing of Brahmaputra in it. But although I'm only doing station, but Sterlite will be doing that line and crossing. So we do support them, at the time of bidding itself, so that they succeed, and it becomes a back-to-back comfort to us. Like we were back-to-back partner of Power Grid when it came to Mohanlalganj, If Power Grid succeeds, we succeed with them. Already we have completed Rampur Sambal for them in UP, so it became a very mirror image presence in the state on an ongoing basis. So those kind of relationships of Techno is very strong in the market, and we are trusted for our timely and quality performance.
Sure, sir.
Mr. Kamlesh, shall we move to the next question?
Yes, please.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Vithlani from SBI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gupta ji.
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir.
So just want to understand on the Kohima project, you mentioned you are selling it to CLP. So what are the pending milestones as of now?
Only, if you technically ask me, nothing. But major one is we have to get officially 281 approval from the income tax department. Otherwise, all CP stands compliant.
Okay. So pardon my ignorance. So if you could help us, what is 281?
It's generally a procedural requirement that when you part of a fixed asset from your books, you need a income tax department consent for it.
So the approval from the central government, the union government has now been accorded.
They are all obtained. Lender's approval is also obtained now. So we are hopeful to complete it this month, failing which December latest.
Understand, yeah. The second question was, you highlighted that the transmission TBCB has become extremely competitive. Now, when the developers win the project at such competitive tariffs, they usually try to pass on the buck on the next value chain of EPC or equipment. If you could just comment on the margins or the profitability on the EPC side, are these developers able to pass on, and companies like are able to maintain the profitability?
Sir, I've always maintained profitability is something which is a very dynamic journey of any EPC company. It is linked to the quality sourcing, optimal engineering, time-bound execution, wastage management, productivity management. You see, no doubt markets are competitive. All are flattened out. Now there is no more special margins for the developers or equipment supplier or EPC. They are all on the same line. But still, experience helps you. Your maturity in business helps you to make some money more than the competitor. And that is the experience all about. If I cannot make 5% more than my competitor, despite all challenges in any given situation, can I qualify myself as an experienced company over others?
Understand and appreciate it. The last follow-up on the same lines, because a couple of the transformer companies did highlight about the increasing lead time because of surge in the demand conditions, wherein earlier a transformer could have been delivered over a 3 to 4 month time frame. Now the lead time has become as high as 14, 15 months, and the underlying value chain has become really tight, and consequently they are talking about better profitability. So on the value chain, on the equipment side, how are we seeing now? And are we seeing that after the imposition of quasi ban on the Chinese of with respect to the border areas or neighboring areas, are we seeing tightness on the EPC or on the equipment chain, and that can have some impact on our profitability?
Not at all. Number one is one line answer, because we have sufficient capacity now in India, which we have built over last 5 years for GIS site and transformers over last 1 decade, more or less, I will say, in this country. We have a capacity of almost 500,000 every year now, by and large. The fact which transformer people are telling you is another way of expressing the same thing, that we are all becoming conscious of the IDC cost in the process of setting up of these packages. We want to bring the equipment at site, which you can put to use immediately on the seat at site. Like transformer is one large value equipment, which earlier one to show the top line used to bring at least 6 to 9 months before requirement. Today we bring only 1 month before the requirement, because it is the last equipment at the project site needed to integrate into the value chain. So this is how everybody is rearranging his finance, cash flows, cost of finance, as well as productivity gains associated with it. When everything else is ready, your control room is ready, foundations are ready, all enabling works are ready, bring transformers, put it on the foundation and make it ready for charging in 2 months. Why you need 8 months for it, as we used to do earlier? You see, so a lot of things gets innovated, I will not say, when there is some kind of compulsions around you. So it is a natural process of improvement. If, like in automobile, there are assembly shops only. Every supplier warehousing is done by the supplier itself, and every week he gets the component in his factory. He does not carry any inventory in auto shops. So similarly, we are also learning and innovating, sir, how to rearrange our sequence of supplies, readiness of the receipt of supply in the field, related works in the field, optimized way of creating facilities in the field. So learning carries on as challenges grows in any business. Ultimately, fittest will survive, sir.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, thank you so much for taking my questions.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amber Singhania from Nippon India Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Sir, just 2 things. Most of the questions has been answered. Just 2 small things. If you can just give us some color about the total capex required for the data center on an annual basis, FY 22, 23, and 24. And will that include just Chennai, or there is other site also which will be counted in that?
Ankit, would you like to take this?
Yeah, sure. So the total capex requirement for the data center in Chennai will be approximately 1,000 crores, and I think one can assume that the capex by the time we commission in March 23, it will be about 500 crores, and post that maybe gets divided into somewhere around 200 to 225 crores per year for the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so and out of this 500 crore, mostly it will go into FY23 only, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the remaining 500 crores will be divided amongst the next
22, 23, not 23. Ending March 23.
Okay, I got it, sir.
And Ankit, any color on the other sites which we were planning? Will that also go towards construction from FY23 or prior to that?
We are hopeful that we should be able to bring another site into construction by December 22. Depending on the allotment of land from the state government, we are awaiting favorable allotment from them over the next quarter. And once the allotment is finalized, hopefully we'll be able to take another data center into construction by December 22 or maybe first quarter 23 calendar year.
Got it. Thank you. Just one clarification on the current order book of 2,000 odd crore. This does not include the second FGD order of DVC, right?
No, not at all. No.
Fine, sir. Fine. That's it from my side. And all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Kapoor, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have got two questions. One is on the investment policy we have as a company, because in the current annual report, I can see that we have invested in shares of Suzlon and Z, and then we have invested in debt of few companies like Aditi, Estate Developers, Talwalkar, Exquisite. It looks to me that we are taking a little bit of risk here in the debt part. So first question is on the investment policy of ours. And first question, if you can answer, then I will ask my second question.
You see, we have gone through a huge learning curve, as I shared with you earlier also. Company used to do some ICT, some AIFs, some debt funding. At the post-ILFS, we also went through a learning curve. At the moment, our policy is very simple. We invest our money only in business or keep it in mutual funds, or we will at best utilize them for buybacks or dividend to the shareholders. So you can see now whatever the money we had recovered from ICDs and debt funds, they are all parked in cash, and that is how our cash has gone up to 850 crore now, which used to be below 500 a year back. And we will be shortly coming out with a buyback also. That's what we are arranging, maybe in the last quarter of this year. Utilize a part of this cash.
Right, sir. If I just ask if we have got the money from Talwalkar also, because I think it was due in last year, 2020.
Right, absolutely.
So we have got the money?
We got part 40%, not the full money. From the promoters, we could get the 40% of it.
But we are not writing it off as of now, is it?
No. Because it is still in NCLT, and whatever outcome will be, we'll deal accordingly. It's a very small amount in the total corpus, so it is not a very alarming issue.
Right, sir. Sir, my next question is with respect to the data centers. The first one we are talking about is in Chennai and then followed by Hyderabad and Mumbai. Do we have the land for these data centers, or are we planning to acquire them?
So Chennai we already have. Master plan is ready and construction starts this month, which we hope to make it ready by December 22 and commissioning by March 23 latest. That is number one. Calcutta we are already, you can say, allotted the land, but registry is yet to be done. It is pending cabinet approval. Similarly, in Hyderabad also, we are in discussion with government, state government, as well as Wells Fund for acquiring land in their industrial estate at Chandanwadi. So all this will be achieved by March 22, and we are hopeful to take up the construction by second half of 22-23. in both the pockets additionally.
Right, sir. And have we tie up with any companies, or we will be looking out for the clients after once we have the plan in execution?
So as Ankit highlighted you, we are seriously in discussion with large data center operators who generally takes care of clients, users, and as well as they invest money and they also operate. Our role will be only to maintain infrastructure and as a power supplier post-commissioning.
And what is the IRR we are looking at from these businesses?
Sir, as of today,
hello?
Yeah, Ankit, you can take up this question.
Yeah, I'm saying we may look at an IRR at approximately 23%.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Venkat Subramaniam Raman from Organic Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question. We had almost about a year ago indicated that the current financial year and the next one will probably be one of our best years. The pandemic should have actually pushed it back by some time. With almost 2,000 odd crores of orders coming through in the next 6 months, do we have capacity to roll out fairly large execution for next couple of years? And two, I have a couple of more questions. I probably will queue in after you take this first.
A bit of a noise there. Techno always had a capability to execute projects at no less than 25 to 30 pockets, as I have discussed. Present scenario, what is changing for us is that per pocket output is growing. It is not adding to, number of pockets. Now it is a very concentrated, focused business. And each pocket will be 250 crore plus by and large. So we have the capacity to deliver these projects up to 2,000 crore by 25, as we have discussed, in execution. But order booking also generally in FGD, you require no less than 30 months to deliver a project, because these are chemical process-based electromechanical solutions. So it has a number of facilities to be integrated, civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, instrumentation. So it's a kind of a process plant. So the capacity will not be a challenge, and we'll be able to strengthen wherever required in the process, in the timeline.
When you say what you did, Guptaji, what kind of EPC billings can one look forward to actually over the next year or two?
You see, this year, as I shared with you, that it is a stabilizing year, and we are definitely looking for 1,000 to 1,100 crore as a billing in EPC only, between you and me, out of which we have achieved 400 crore. So in next 2 quarters, we should do about 700 crores. At least. This quarter, we are assured of 350 minimum.
And the years that follow, Guptaji, 22, 23 and for going beyond?
Yeah. So 22, 23, we will be given the order book. Obviously, it will become to roll out the execution. 22, 23, we should target no less than 1,300 crore and growing by at least 25% in 23, 24. It will be at least 1750 crore by then.
My second question was on the Electricity Act. It's been work in progress for quite a while now. Qualitatively, how can things change? And Techno, we all know, is extremely well positioned. what kind of opportunities can it throw? And it probably can even help us deploy some of the cash that we are sitting on. Do you want to kind of paint a broad picture?
Sir, this act and implementation of act, two things in our country has always been a challenge when it comes to concurrent list. Act is very promising, let me say. Government is very assuring, or I may use the word aspirational when you read something. It looks like that. But the problem is the period of implementation. I will love to have simpler reforms, more market-related reforms as it happened in telecom or in airports or ports. But hopefully these again seems to be little guarded kind of reforms, which will keep some flavor of political regulatory, still making sector more financially healthy and stable. So let's see how it, when it gets legislated and how it rolls out. But definitely I see one thing, that whatever way may it happen, the role of private sector will definitely grow in the private sector. The form and content I am not able to at the moment translate. But definitely, like in metering, you can see now, most of these schemes are on 60-40 basis. They are 60% funded by government and 40 by the EPC. So, and with a lot of escrow account backup, guarantees of government backup. All those are in place. They will definitely create a bankable models. But I wish they should have left the sector more to the market forces and market reforms. Consumer would have been better taken care of.
Fair. And as regards our data center, Ankit kind of indicated that we are in discussions. When do you think we will have some announcements to make with respect to either a client or with respect to funding pattern, etc., Ankit?
Could you come again?
You had indicated, Ankit, that your discussions are on with respect to the Chennai data center. When do you think you will have some announcements to make with respect to either funding pattern, participation by investors, and also about possible clients?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we should have some strategic partner onboarded by March 22.
That's when the other two announcements can happen, which is a funding pattern, their participation, and also the clients?
Yeah, I mean, once a strategic partner on board, we'll have much clarity on the funding, the involvement of equity from both the partners, and the responsibility of client acquisition will be with the strategic partner, because that is what he brings as a capability on the table.
Understood.
But I must add here, Venkat, one thing. We are not stopping, irrespective when partner crystallizes. We have taken best of the consultants. Ankit, can you highlight what arrangements and how you are going about doing this project, irrespective of the partners?
No, absolutely, because partnership is not extremely important to us today. It will be pleasurable to have them on board. It de-risks us as far as client acquisition is concerned. But on our own strength, we are very confident that we should be able to deliver the data center, and we will, when the time comes, acquire customers. Today, we have best of the consultants on board with us. Whether it is on design consultancy side, we have a design consultant from New York. We have peer review consultant from Hong Kong. We have project management consultant from US. We have a business consultant again, a US-based firm. So we have best of the people associated with us. We have our independent data center division, a team, and we are confident that we'll be able to deliver the project whether a partner comes on board or not. To be transparent here, we already have a term sheet with one of the partners. It is us who have been delaying the further deepening of relationship with them, because we believe that somewhere as we are getting deeper into the relationship, our confidence on delivering the data center independently is increasing as well. So we want to explore more. We want to see how things develop going forward, and then hopefully have a stronger strategic partner by March.
Understood. Thanks a lot, sir. All the best, both Ankit and Gupta ji. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as this was the last question for today, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Kamlesh Kotak for closing comments.
Thanks, Rutuja. On behalf of Asian Markets, we thank everyone for joining for this call. Special thanks to Mr. Gupta ji and Ankit for providing us insight about the company's business and financial performance. Gupta ji, any closing remarks you would like to make, sir?
Absolutely, Kamlesh. I'd like to thank each one of you and all of you for joining the call and making it so huge a success. Again, if you have any query related to our performance or the industry or business we are in, or you happen to be on this side of India, you are welcome to drop a mail or drop in our office, or as you like, you are welcome. You will be honored guest with us, and your company will continue to outperform as usual, as it has done in the past. And with that, I wish you again, I'd like to close the conference and thank everybody for joining and wish you a very happy festive period ahead and decently gone by. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. On behalf of Asian Market Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.